I want to start with some breaking news. Hillary Rodham Clinton is not now and never has been President of the United States of America. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Marriage Up Live. It is wonderful to have you with me. I think you already knew that about Hillary Clinton, but some people seem to have forgotten. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. This afternoon, we finally got the confirmation of what many of us all along knew to be true. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and he has known that fact for months, as has his DOJ. The Wall Street Journal reports that Donald's name appears in the files multiple times, according to senior administration officials who spoke to the newspaper. They reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed Donald that his name appears in the files during a meeting at the White House back in May, alerting him that several other notable figures appeared in the files alongside him. It's been obvious for quite some time now that Donald is panicking. He has been desperate, like more desperate, quite frankly, than I've ever seen him, to kill this story, to change the subject, turn the page, place the blame on anybody else, no matter how nonsensical that might appear. Obama, in particular, was one of his most prevalent targets this week. So it seemed pretty obvious, to at least to everybody but Donald, that this was backfiring. And it made it even more obvious that there has to be a bombshell waiting to be revealed. And this was it, or at least this was part of it, because we don't yet know exactly why Donald's name appeared so many times in the Jeffrey Epstein files. But he's known for months now. He's been lying to us more than usual, if that's even possible, that whole time. Every aspect of what's been going on the last couple of weeks, from the White House, from the Department of Justice, from everybody involved in the executive branch, has been part of a cover-up. The White House almost immediately released a statement. It almost as if they knew that this day would come. Through spokesperson Stephen Chung, it said in part the following, quote, "This is nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and the liberal media," unquote. Oh, wow, that's original. Republicans close to Donald are doing everything in their power to spin this as a fake news story. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who I have no doubt was among those informed in May of Donald's name being mentioned several times in the Jeffrey Epstein files, had his excuse locked and loaded earlier today before the news even broke to the public. Take a look at what he told Newsmax.
Quickly weigh in on Epstein. Many are hoping to see more of those files released. There could be future court proceedings. Is there any reason that you have to believe that any documents were tampered with by so-called deep state operatives?
Look, it hasn't been my area that I've worked on. Unfortunately, I wish I knew more about it. It's been in the Department of Justice. One of our concerns is, of course, that it was, held in the hands of the DOJ leaders under the last administration, the Biden-Harris administration. And we all know how crooked and corrupt so many of those top officials were, how they engaged in lawfare against President Trump. And he has a concern, and I do as well, that things could have been doctored in those records. So that's part of the concern.
Part of my concern is that Mike Johnson can say these despicable things with a straight face. Part of my concern is that there are so many people like Mike Johnson trying to convince the American people that this is all the deep state. I mean, that question by that so-called reporter was a hanging curveball over the center of the plate. And Johnson swung. That's what they're going with. They are trying everything in their power to convince us that anything associated with Donald and the Epstein files couldn't possibly be credible because clearly Obama and Hillary Clinton's deep state made it all up. The American people aren't stupid, at least most of them aren't. They know what Donald and his minions are trying to do. Donald has no choice to release the files. He knows it, we know it, and even some of his former loyalists know it. As Republican Tom Tillis told Axios today,
what does the Trump administration need to do to handle this Epstein saga?
Release the damn files. Look, it makes no sense to me. One of two things is true, I believe. Either it's a nothing burger in terms of the evidence we have. Let's separate it from this guy being disgusting and what he did and the systematic trafficking of young people, minor age people for sex purposes. But the promise to release the files during the campaign was either overplayed and we got a nothing burger if the files get released, or it's something really disturbing, and that's actually even a more compelling reason to release it. And this nonsense of, well, we've got to protect the innocent witnesses, those sorts of things, that's called redaction. We do that all the time.
Okay, Donald has absolutely no credibility here, to the extent he had any. But more disturbing, nobody in the Department of Justice, including and especially Attorney General Pam Bondi, has any credibility here either. The fact that the files weren't released beforehand suggests a couple of things. One, that the people Donald promised would be in that report, those higher ups in the Democratic Party, aren't in the files, or it's just him and some of his known associates. Once again, it seems blindingly obvious that if there were anything in these files exonerating, for example, his name not being in them at all, they would have been released. So, we need the damn files released, obviously. All right. A federal judge in Florida is not helping Donald's case in pretending they're trying to provide transparency. Today, Judge Robin L. Rosenberg denied a request by Donald and his DOJ to release grand jury transcripts from the investigation into Epstein. In a 12-page order, Rosenberg wrote that the court's hands are tied in unsealing grand jury testimony, since laws on criminal procedure generally forbid courts doing so except in narrow circumstances. The Times reports, quote, "The decision is all but certain to frustrate the administration's frantic bid to show that no secrets remain from the government's investigation into Mr. Epstein in Florida." Okay. But let's get to the heart of that issue. Nobody before Pam Bondi made this suggestion was asking for the grand jury notes to be released, because there's no way they would be as specific or as voluminous as the information in the Epstein files, which, again, we have been told for a very, very long time were going to be released because Donald Trump was the only person in the world who had the courage to get to the bottom of this horror. All right, we have some breaking news. So give me a second here. A House Oversight Subcommittee voted 8-2 to subpoena the Department of Justice for all records related to Jeffrey Epstein, with a bipartisan coalition defying GOP leadership to demand transparency. The subpoena still requires a signature from Chair James Comer before it becomes official. Representative Summer Lee, who introduced the motion, emphasized that withholding the files would send a message that powerful abusers are protected from accountability. The vote breakdown total was 8-2 in favor. All Democrats voted in favor. Republicans voted 3 in favor, 2 against. So perhaps the dam is breaking here, but we're talking about Donald Trump. So let's just keep our heads down and make sure that the pressure remains on the Trump regime, including and especially Pam Bondi and the DOJ and the Republican Party. Okay? We cannot take anything for granted, and we cannot allow Donald Trump once again to get away with something that may be among the worst things he's ever done. Potentially. I don't know, but I now know that his name is in those files, and Pam Bondi and God knows how many other people in the corrupt Republican Party helped keep this quiet. They want this to go away. They will continue to try to make it go away. We cannot allow it. Finally, we need some accountability. So while Donald is in very serious trouble, his agency heads aren't doing much better. FEMA's acting director, David Richardson, got put on blast for the disastrous response to the deadly Texas floods. Several reports said that during the floods, as people fought for their lives and in some cases lost them, Richardson was absolutely nowhere to be found. At a House Subcommittee on Economic Development, Public Buildings, and Emergency Management hearing, Ranking Member Representative Greg Stanton did not hold back, saying that FEMA's performance wasn't just incompetent, it was indifferent, and people likely died because of it. Watch him call out Richardson's refusal to take responsibility in the wake of the Texas tragedy here.
Mr. Richardson, you were nowhere near Texas at the critical moments in the search and rescue, and you did not even show your face for more than a week after the flood. You are the administrator of this critical agency. You're the leader, but you did not lead as you are required to by federal law. But worse, you seem uninterested to learn what went wrong and how to respond better. Do the victims and survivors in Texas deserve an apology?
What happened in Texas was an absolute tragedy. It's hard to fathom. I went to Texas. I flew over. It was an absolute tragedy. My heart goes out to the people in Texas.
Yeah,
I know that there was...
That was intended as a yes or no question, and I'll appropriately take that as a no. Mr. Chairman, this wasn't just incompetence. It wasn't just indifference. It was both. And that deadly combination likely cost lives. I yield back.
Now, remember, Richardson has no previous experience in disaster management, but it also appears that he has no previous experience with human empathy. I had a flashback to George W. Bush flying over New Orleans after that horrific disaster. I don't know if you remember this, but that's the guy who said he didn't know America had a hurricane season. Richardson stood firm, if that's what you want to call it, denying that there was any wrongdoing and saying that the response in Texas was a model, which should instill all of us who live in regions susceptible to natural disasters with fear. But we know now that FEMA missed nearly 2/3 of calls to its disaster assistance hotline during the flood. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem dismissed the reporting as fake news, even though she's the one requiring every single $100,000 contract to go through her personal sign-off, which effectively bottlenecks aid. Donald has been pushing to get rid of FEMA. Why is beyond my comprehension. I guess because it saves money and it's cheaper to let people die unnecessarily. Richardson, Noem have no interest in improving FEMA, have no interest in making it more effective and more responsive to Americans who are struggling in the aftermath of disasters or who need their lives saved during them. When Richardson was asked about the agency's future, this is what he had to say.
So there's serious concerns, at least by me, and I suspect by other members of the committee, about the future of FEMA. Is it even going to exist? Can you commit to us today that FEMA will exist in the future, will be able to carry out its functions under the law and under the needs of this nation? Or do you not know?
Thank you for the question. What I could commit to is that the president wants a better emergency management for the American people, and that's a noble goal. The president's a noble man, and that's what he wants. He wants a better emergency management capability.
Does that mean FEMA is gone and there'll be something new and different?
So, in his wisdom, and with Secretary Noem and Secretary Hegseth's guide, the president has appointed a FEMA council, okay, that are going to give him recommendations.
So the answer is blowing in the wind. We do not know, and you cannot confirm that it is the policy of the administration to maintain FEMA.
Anybody who uses the words noble and wise to describe Donald Trump does not belong in polite society, but also does not belong at the head of any agency, let alone one that is responsible for keeping Americans safe or saving Americans. It's very obvious these people want FEMA gone, but it's important, I think, every once in a while to pause and think about what it means when the people chosen to run an agency have as their primary goal the eradication of said agency. That is the case at Health and Human Services, run, if you can call it like that, by Robert Kennedy. That is the case at the Department of Education, run, if you can call it that, by Linda McMahon. And that is obviously the case with FEMA. All right. Quickly, please don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We do our best to uncover the bad faith moves from the Trump regime every day that they want to keep covered, but they want to keep hidden, but we desperately want to uncover, and we cannot do that without you. Okay, so while Donald and his lackeys continue to cause massive disruption on a scale we have not seen in the United States government before, Columbia University is following in their footsteps. Columbia has disciplined over 70 students, mostly through suspensions and expulsions, for their involvement in a pro-Palestinian protest at Butler Library, while simultaneously negotiating with the Trump administration to unfreeze roughly $1 billion in federal research funding. In response to federal pressure, the university has overhauled its disciplinary process by removing student oversight and placing the university judicial board under presidential control. Columbia has also adopted a controversial definition of anti-Semitism and aligned itself with pro-Israel groups as part of its effort to meet the administration's demands. The student group Columbia for Palestine released a statement that promised, quote, students remain committed to ending U.S. and Columbia-backed Israeli genocide, unquote. They went on to accuse Columbia leaders of active collusion with the Trump administration. Columbia University, shame on you. This is despicable. It is disgraceful. With your massive endowment, it must be in the tens of billions of dollars. You easily could have fought the Trump regime, defended your students, and defended intellectual freedom, and defended higher education in the United States of America. But you bent the knee because you are cowards who have absolutely no right to have any role in shaping the lives of our young people. Speaking of sustained resistance, we have an update on Abrego Garcia. But first, a federal judge just slammed the brakes on ICE's immediate deportation of Mr. Abrego Garcia, which Donald told the Justice Department planned to do instantly upon his release from jail. Take a look at CBS News' coverage.
Some breaking news to tell you about. A judge has ordered Abrego Garcia to be released from custody. The Maryland man who was previously mistakenly deported to El Salvador has been held in Tennessee on human smuggling charges since returning to the United States. Now, he denies those charges and is suing the Trump administration Meanwhile, another judge has barred immigration officials from immediately detaining him after he leaves custody. Now, the federal government now has to provide 72 hours notice if it plans to remove him from the country.
U.S. District Judge Paul Lazinis said this order was to protect Abrego Garcia's due process. Remember what that is? Yes, constitutional right given to every single person on American soil, not just American citizens. Writing, quote, defendants have done little to assure the court that absent intervention, Abrego Garcia's due process rights will be protected, unquote. And Abrego Garcia's team isn't taking the regime's abuse of power lying down either. In a filing Tuesday, they asked a federal judge in Tennessee to order Donald or anyone in the White House to stop making statements about his case. This comes after Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem publicly called Abrego Garcia a, quote, horrible human being, unquote, who should, quote, never be released, unquote. In a filing Tuesday, Abrego's attorney asked U.S. District Judge Waverly D. Crenshaw, who is overseeing the case against Abrego, to ensure the government complies with the court's rules when it comes to extrajudicial statements to ensure Abrego is afforded a fair trial and due process. This is where we are, particularly in the context of these kinds of cases. It is down to the judges to stand firm. It is down to the judges to follow the rule of law without fear or favor, and, when appropriate, curb executive power and protect those Donald and the Trump regime want so desperately to harm. All right, then. Yeah, something of a day, wasn't it? Isn't it always? I think it's Wednesday, and I think it's time. One, for a nice deep breath and our emotional support moment. I think honestly, I think we all need a hug sometimes. Just unfortunately, a lot of people refuse to admit that. I think if some people on this planet had gotten hugged properly, the world would be in a better place. Today would be a good day for everybody to get a hug. It's the middle of the week, which means kind of nothing because feels like weeks are just sort of an endless loop and there aren't weekends anymore. But you know who especially needs a hug? Well, today's ESM comes from Voy Farms that's located in Braunfels, Texas. And they provide care for gypsy horses, Clydesdales, goats, pigs, donkeys, alpacas, rabbits, miniature Scottish Highlanders, and sheep of all sizes. So let's watch how they think that their animals deserve to be treated.
Cotton's turn. Oh, Kitty.
All right. I love my job. I want that job. I mean, if I could just do it part-time, I'm for free. I don't need to be, the payment would be in the hugging of the little baby goats. That's just like one of the most awesome things ever. So thank you, Voy Farms. Seriously, I hope all of your animals get hugs on a daily basis. And if you need help, just let me know, please. I'd even go to Texas. All right. Let's get to your questions, comments, etc. Lisa, new members, thank you so much and welcome. It is wonderful to have you. Greg, thank you so much, Greg. Comment, Sheltie Rescue Transport next week fee. Oh, how cool. Keep us posted, please. Wendy, super sticker, thank you so much. That's excellent. Mina Cheryl gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much, Mina Cheryl, as always. Zella, Zila, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, whenever possible. Like, seriously, like, even if your name is Sam, please spell it phonetically for me. Well, maybe not Sam, but you know what I'm saying. Because I like to get people's names right, and I usually don't. All right, so Zila, thank you so very much. Comment, donation and appreciation for Donald's healing voice effect. Yeah, it was not my idea, but thank you, team, because it definitely saves us all. Some agita, I have to say. Francie gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much, Francie. Awesome. Michael, new member, welcome, and thank you so much. Glad you're here. Mina Cheryl, again, and thank you. Comment, happy Donnie is officially in the Epstein Files Day. Good news, truthful news fee. Yes, indeed. And that's a new fee because we didn't have official word that it was in fact the case that Donald Trump's name appears in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Remember, Jeffrey Epstein, notorious rapist and sex trafficker of girls and young women. Donald's in that file several times. So weird. Who could have seen that coming? Everybody. Regina, thank you so very much. As always, comment everything that Donald doesn't like, he calls fake news. Yeah, including and especially every single truth about him. He's nothing if not consistent. Susan, thank you as always. That is fantastic. Comment, everyone keep the spotlight on the Epstein Files cover up. Stay on it. Absolutely. I could not agree more. We are not letting this go. Oh my God, I just did a Donald accordion thing. I'm sorry. It is genetic. At least I don't do the accordion thing. Small favors. I mean, I have his eyebrows. Life is not fair. Okay, His Divine Scotto, thank you as always. That's fantastic. Comment, the weekly news cycle makes me feel like a conspiracy nutter in his basement muttering to himself. Yeah, with this exception, it's all coming true, right? I mean, it's as if, like, imagine if we'd found out that, what was it called? Comet Pizza had a basement, except this is real and this is the truth. And we are not letting it go. And we are not muttering to ourselves. We are all of us speaking truth to power. Mrs. BVM, Canadian in the house, elbows up. Comment, proud of my city of Halifax, took permit away from MAGA Christian musician, a MAGA quote unquote Christian musician, so he can't perform at our historical site. Love you, Mary. Oh, that's great. I love that. Canada is just stepping up in all sorts of ways. It is just fantastic. And remember, I don't know, I think we mentioned this in a video we did earlier today. Like, nobody in Canada, besides not coming to America, nobody is buying any American alcohol. It's really making a difference. So keep it up, guys, and thank you. Also, I'm sorry. D Glass, new member, awesome, welcome. Susan, again, gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. Thank you so very, very much, Susan. Much appreciated as always. Susan, super sticker. Thank you, Susan. That is most excellent and much appreciated. In the middle of nowhere, thank you as always. You guys are knocking it out of the park tonight. Thank you very, very much. Comment, oh my God, this is making my head hurt. I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. What a bunch of evil clowns. Mary, glad you're on the mend. Back to the M of N after being in Maine fee. M of N. I don't know what M of N means, but I hope you had a wonderful time in Maine. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. And thank you. Yes, I'm definitely on the mend. I'm still sleepy, but if that's the worst of my problems, I consider myself lucky. And yeah, it does feel surreal. It does. It feels surreal, especially just knowing how many truly, and I don't use this word and I don't mean it in a religious context. I don't use this word frequently at all. These people are evil, evil people, and they're running our government. And I did it again. All right, I'm gonna like sit on my hands or something. Sorry. Jana, member for 2 months. Thank you so very much. Let's go Mets. Comment, Mary, thanks for all the hard work you and your team do every day. Y'all are extraordinary. Also, Mets got the sweep. Let's fucking go, Mets. Yes, indeed, because you keep dropping on that power list, and we need you back up. I mean, I think still top 10, but still, got my hopes up. A couple weeks ago, you were number 1, so a sweep is going to help. And thank you. Again, I think I try to remind you at every opportunity. This team is the best team in the business. So I love it when they get some love. Blonde Bombsheller comment, as an animal behavior specialist and IWRC certified wildlife rehabilitator, I highly recommend baby goat hug therapy, right? It's just like the simple things. And also, hug your kids. That's the thing. There was no hugging in my family. I mean, not my family, my dad's family of origin. No hugging, no physical affection, no affection of any kind. None. Like, it was kind of, I mean, this is how holidays, whatever, we would greet each other. Handshake. 2 men would just shake hands. If a man and a woman were greeting each other, they shook hands and they gave barely a kiss on it, like an air kiss on the cheek. If it were 2 women, handshake, kiss on the cheek. That is not enough for children. Hug them. Dorothy, thank you so very much. This is a cuddly animal hug fee. I love that. That should be a thing. It is now. Cheryl, member for 2 months. That's awesome, Cheryl. Thank you. Comment, have a great day, Mary. I'm having a great day, and I'm with you guys, so it's even better. Pam Klein, thank you so very much. That is a goat hug fee. Love it. Thanks for everything you do for all of us. Well, thanks for everything you guys do for us and all of us, because seriously, you make this all worthwhile. Zentech, thank you very, very much. Comment, been watching a while. Whenever Don goes low, I think he can't go lower than he does. Yeah, this is sort of my mantra. With Donald, there is no worst. Things will always get worse. No matter how impossible that might seem, they will always get worse. So, what does that mean? Hang on to your hats. That's what that means. Voytech, CYVR, another Canadian in the house, elbows up, and a super sticker. Thank you. Nanner, thank you as always. Comment, just joining the cool kids in the chat today. Yeah, we do have a lot of cool kids in the chat. So awesome. Thank you, Nanner. And finally, we have Blonde Bombshell. Again, wow, that's awesome. Thank you. That is much appreciated and very generous. Comment, big hugs to you, Mary. And this is awesome, chat. Also, Slava Ukraini. Sorry, I mispronounced that, but yeah. I mean, speaking of things that have dropped from the radar here, but deserve attention every single day. We need to support Ukraine, and we need to put in place people in our government who are going to do that properly. That is not over, and Ukraine needs us. So, thank you for the reminder. And I just wish that we had a government that understood that Ukraine is fighting a war against a hostile foreign power after having been illegally invaded by that hostile foreign power, not just for its own sovereignty and independence, but for the future of Western democracy. And we all owe Ukraine a massive debt of gratitude and massive amounts of actual help that will make a difference in their ability to win this fight. All right. Phew. Okay. that does it. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Just a couple of quick updates. I will not be here tomorrow night, but we have an awesome guest host. So please tune in and support them. I am traveling to Chicago tomorrow for an event. But I will be back Friday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern for Marriage Up Live. And again, we have videos dropping every single day. So a couple of things. First of all, we are over 440,000 subscribers now. And so the easiest way to support us is if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. It's free. You get access to all of our videos published on our homepage on YouTube. Second easiest way is to check out those recorded videos. Again, we have sometimes 2, 3 every day, including weekends. Check those out, watch them, like them, share them. And oh, by the way, I love Hawaii too. It's like one of my favorite places, and I can't wait to go back. And comment on them. All of that helps us with YouTube. And obviously, we have paid memberships now. So check those out. Just click on subscribe on the homepage, and you can see the different tiers. Just as a reminder, one of those tiers has a banned book club that meets once a month. This month, we're meeting on July 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern. And the book we are going to be discussing is the utterly brilliant Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. So if you're interested in joining us, please check out that membership tier. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube, to everybody streaming on Twitter and on my Substack, The Good in Us, to everybody listening to the podcast, to our awesome moderators for being awesome, to all of our new members, all of those gifting memberships, all of us throwing us gifts, to all of our super stickers. You guys rock, and it means the world to us. Also, as always, to my amazing team, and like especially like on a day like today, the news is breaking, things are changing. It makes their jobs so much harder, and they are such total pros, and they keep their senses of humor, and they just are the best. So thanks, guys. Much appreciated. All right, that does it for us. I will see you Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, but do check in. There will be a Marriage Up Live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern as well. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.